This type of modern energy requires huge upfront capital costs, hundreds of millions of dollars, and massive coordination of technical expertise to design and construct. Politically, this type of project is popular. It involves a lot of government contracts with private sector construction firms, massive loans from development banks or donors, and the prestige of delivering a large piece of infrastructure that can be given a name. However, experience shows that there are some problems with this type of approach to meeting SDG 7. First, the concentration of money can give rise to corruption, sometimes on an eye-watering scale. Secondly, delivery of electricity using long-distance transmission lines really makes this type of modern energy only suitable for energy-intensive industries, such as mining, smelting and cement manufacture, and for powering cities. Rural areas don't have the density of wealthy end users to make grid extensions viable. Thirdly, a system of tariffs needs to be put in place for people to pay for the electricity, and so centralized administrative infrastructure and collection mechanisms need to be created. Fourthly, time and again, this type of generation and delivery system has proven to be unreliable, with frequent power interruptions of both brownouts and blackouts. In some countries, this has led to the creation of new words. For example, in Ghana, dumso means off-on from two separate words in Asante Twi, dum to turn off or quench, and so to turn on or to kindle. So if you're a corrupt official, a multilateral lending bank, an overseas development agency looking for political influence, or a major mining operation, then this type of modern energy is for you. For the rest of us, it doesn't really suit our needs. I don't need a nuclear power station to charge my mobile phone, power my laptop, or light my desk lamp. Recent advances in low-cost technologies such as solar power, small-scale gasifier engines, microhydro, batteries, mini-grids, and biogas mean that alternatives to big power solutions are possible for households and communities. And we'll hear about these alternatives in today's talk by Sandra and in the film clip from Marie to demonstrate that it's possible to work with communities to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. From a language perspective, this is a very interesting and novel area of research. The language of traditional large-scale energy infrastructure is technical and generally incomprehensible to somebody who has not spent years learning it. It requires in-depth understanding of complex electrical and construction engineering. Similarly, financing this type of energy infrastructure, from huge bank loans to tariff structures, needs people fluent in the language of economics. For large-scale infrastructure, local communities don't need to know this language. It only needs to be spoken by the high priests of energy architecture. A household only needs to know the words like light switch, plug, and fuse. But when the technology of energy generation, transmission, and use moves into communities, a whole new language has to be created, assimilated, and adapted. This is something that's now happening globally, and to the best of my knowledge, no one is researching it. We'll start today's seminar with a short clip from the film La Energía de los Pueblos by Marie, and then we'll invite Sandra to give a talk on energy autonomy for the defense of the territory, an initiative from cooperation in Sierra Norte de Puebla. So in Marie's film, in Mexico and Guatemala, energy production is carried out to the detriment of the people through privatization, dispossession of natural assets, and violent imposition of power plants to satisfy industrial demand. Faced with mega projects that threaten their territories and fabric of life, 3 communities struggling for decent life made the commitment to produce their own electricity. Through the voices of those who are walking towards a just, popular, and sustainable energy model, the documentary allows us to discover experiences and reflections that challenge the system, considering energy as a common good and a right for everyone. So Andrea, if you can play the clip, please.
Estamos presentes en la defensa del río para que no se hagan las presas, no
La luz es algo en primer lugar en la vida. Sin la luz no podemos estar, nos costó sin estar en la luz, en la oscuridad.
Eso que hacen las empresas no es el camino. Dejan una mayoría de los pueblos afuera y los pagos que hacemos es para ellos. No es.
La luz es algo en primer lugar en la vida. Sin la luz no podemos estar, nos costó sin estar en la luz, en la oscuridad.
Eso que hacen las empresas no es el camino. Dejan una mayoría de los pueblos afuera y los pagos que hacemos es para ellos. No es el desarrollo de los pueblos.
Eso es de todos, es nuestro. Y por lo tanto todos debemos de tener derecho y acceso a eso.
Pensamos que también es un derecho humano tener energía eléctrica.
Es muy grato para nosotros comentarles que los jóvenes, hombres y mujeres de esta región, ya estamos asumiendo el papel que se nos está pidiendo, nos estamos capacitando en temas de soberanía energética.
Botamos energía y ya acumulamos el prisionero.
Deberíamos de preguntarnos energía para qué, energía para quién y energía cómo.
La transición energética no es simplemente un cambio de tecnología, sino que implica justamente cambiar las formas, cambiar el modelo energético, que por supuesto implica cambiar el sistema.
Votos para Jorge. Levanten la mano. 2, 4, 6.
Aquí sí se está ejerciendo una democracia real. La gente toma sus decisiones en asamblea. Toda la comunidad decide hacia dónde quiere ir.
No esperemos que desde arriba nos resuelvan los problemas. Si no lo hacemos abajo, nadie nos va a hacer caso.
La gente lo está haciendo en diferentes partes. Ya esto se va extendiendo cada vez más y que pues yo creo que tiene mucho futuro esta energía alternativa.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. I'm really looking forward to seeing the whole film. Marie, before we move on to Sandra's talk, would you like to say just a few words about the film and what your plans are for it and the festivals that it's going to and so on, please?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. We are very pleased to be here. La energía de los pueblos is one hour documentary produced last year by La Sandía Digital, the woman collective that I'm in. We really wanted to share that these stories of resistance and alternative, because in Mexico the situation is very heavy. There is a lot of repression, there is a lot of injustice, and as you will see in the documentary, a lot of energy projects are imposed by companies and by the states, but they are really the purpose is really to they are connected to other mega projects like open pit mines, etc. No, there is a large scale projects which is not in benefit to communities. No, so it was for us very important to share that stories of organizations and and people that are defending their lands and their ways of life. And it was a very, very collaborative project because we worked with these communities and other collectives and groups like Cooperativism and Colectivo Geocomunes, which is a collective of geographers who try to how to say it, to show that connections between the actual energetic model with mining companies, for example. So it was very important, and the documentary really tried to not speak in a very technical languages about energy. We really wanted to tell that stories, these stories in other type of language, very more yes, common. And we are not specialists of this subject. It was very important for us to say that it's possible to speak about energy without being a specialist.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Marie. It's a wonderful film, and I wish you lots of success with getting awards. What I suggest is that we save any discussion until the end. So I'll now introduce Sandra. And Sandra is a sociologist with a master's degree in sociology. And she's currently a PhD student at the Institute of Social Sciences and Humanities of the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla. And she's a mother, a feminist and ecologist, an activist of the Congreso de los Pueblos in Colombia, and worker in the renewable energy cooperative Oneguía in Mexico. She has researched community popular forms, their struggles for social transformation and a dignified life from the perspective of political ecology. She has publications in Claxo and the academic journals Trabajo Necesario, Bajo de Volcán, and Cuadernos de Geografía, among others. And Sandra, you'll have to correct my Spanish pronunciation for that. Andrea, if you can play the recording of Sandra's talk, and then after that we can have some discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, hello for everyone. My name is Sandra Rátiva. I'm from Colombia. Now I'm resident in Mexico. I'm a student of the PhD of Sociology in Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla in Puebla City. I'm going to talk with you. I'm going to share with you my experience and the experience of my cooperative. We work in Sierra Norte de Puebla with a social process called Asamblea en defensa de la vida y del territorio de los pueblos Macehual, Totonaco y Mestizo. I'm going to share a presentation. Okay. This invitation, this session is about the relationship between equipments, technology in indigenous people. And I'm called my presentation Energetic Autonomy for Defense of the Territory, an initiative from cooperativism in Sierra Norte de Puebla. And I want to start this presentation talk about the project of death. That is the name that people give at this project, mega projects about energy, dams, fracking, and electrical infrastructure. In this map, you can see different projects of the death in the Sierra Norte de Puebla. For example, in the center of the map, you can see where is the communities, where is the assemblies, the local and community assemblies in defense of the life and the territory. But in the same map, you can see mining projects, dam projects, and fracking projects. No, and this map is the motive, is the cause because, but I say, for that the people organize in the assembly of Masewal, Totonacu, and Mestizo peoples. That is a meeting space in which around 3,000 women and men are summoned every 3 months before COVID, obviously, and is a social political articulation between individuals, communities, organizations, and people of the Sierra Norte. This is due to a series of threats to the territory that projects as a communities call this mega project, almost all associated with the energy model, fracking, dams, mining, construction of electrical substation, among others like that said before. This assembly was born little by little, gestating since 2011 in such a way that by 2016, it has already built in sites. Various proposals and alternatives have been seen. In it also decisions are made given a popular mandate to build sovereignty and energy and autonomy energy. And this is the principal reason or the principal link between technology and indigenous people. And this means that communities and indigenous people take the decision, no, to appropriate this technology for defend their territory, defend their lifestyle, defend their culture. And we understand that as action to promote the implementation, I'm sorry, this, okay, I say, we understand that as action to promote the implementation of a decentralized, local, and sustainable model for the generation and use of electrical energy in the mountains of the Sierra Norte of state of Puebla that contributes to improvement of the productive vocation of the region and the multiplication of social economy initiatives as a work alternative and community organization. And this initiative, we call it Plan of Sovereignty Energetic, that has 5 points of principal aims. No, that is the knowledge of the territory, that implies community diagnosis of energy needs and diagnosis of energy generation capacities. In second place, training and capacity building, that implies transfer of knowledge, technology, and innovation through education and analysis and capacity of socio-ecological proposal. The third thing is the socio-economic energy framework that implies linkage between cooperatives, reduction of energy poverty, creation of decent work for youth people, that implicates avoiding city migration, that is a strong problem, social problem in the Sierra Norte. Fourth, the construction of social and solidarity economy networks, and creation of solidarity circuits for the creation of solidarity value chains of energy sector in the region. In this region exist so many cooperatives of coffee, of honey, and other kinds of cooperatives. So we think that the solidarity economy is itself alternative for the debt projects, and the people and the assembly see this opportunity. And five, we think that there's the small-scale distributed generation that implies technical support incidents for the change of public policy, management, and associated construction of power generation infrastructure with community management. No? So we here we share you some steps or some moments that we have lived in the past. No, so since 2016, we have been working with a specific organization that have a presence in the territory in the Sierra Norte and have built their legitimacy due to permanent work. For example, Tosepan Titatanisque Cooperative Unions, which has approximately 35,000 members, and with the Masewal Siwameg Women's Cooperative of Taselotzin Hotel, that is a community tourism initiative, or with the INDEC, that is Instituto Mexicano para el Desarrollo Comunitario, that is a civil association, among other organizations in the region. In 2016, we worked on the training for initial capacities and on the design of the first projects. In 2018, we started a diagnosis process to find or what was needed. This is a fact continues to be an ongoing task. Knowing what type of energy is needed, what energy needs are urgent, because not everything is electrical energy, obviously, and other forms of energy are also important. To know what kinds of energy could exist or could be generated in the territory. This is a region with a lot of water and with community water committees what have long managed of community water infrastructure, for example. Now, in 2019, a training process with young people was strongly developed. These were summoned by the organizations, and in the case of the Tosepan cooperative, they received a grant for federal state program, Young People Building the Future, to facilitate participation in the training process. And during 2020, they worked hard and in the midst of the pandemic in the installation of several generation projects for some of cooperative facilities. For what we can say that today there is an installed capacity of a cooperative nature in the Sierra of the Puebla, which belong to the peoples and the organizations, with the young people. That is some special thing. This is the a table show the installed capacity in the Sierra Norte. For us, for my cooperative, and for me, is a very values task. The process of training with these young people. Now we can say that in the Sierra Norte, The installed capacity is near of 48 kilowatts in different community buildings like saving cooperatives and educative installations. And well, now this is for one of the projects of the photovoltaic projects in the saving cooperative Tosepan Tomin. This is a second project of the Tosepan Tomin cooperative, and this is the system, the photovoltaic system in the University for Development Benito Juárez. That is a local university building with federal grants. In these images, you can see the young people in the process of installation that we was developed. Here, for example, we are in field work for diagnosis of electrical and energetic needs of the community of Xocoyolo. Xocoyolo is a little rural community. And this is the one of the group of the young people with we was work in the capacity building process. And now I want to talk about my cooperative. My cooperative is Onergia Cooperativa, and we are part of the assembly. We are interested in collaborating with society towards the transition and energy sovereignty, where producers and energy users actively participate in decision making regarding the equitable distribution on energy resources. What is our mission? We seek to offer decent living conditions for our partners, for ourselves, applying low impact and sustainable energy on a small scale, as well as carrying out installation, education, support, advice, training, and awareness raising tasks regarding their use and importance. And we develop this education and capacity building process in the Sierra for less two processes, one with the Masewal people, another with the Totonaco people. This imagine is of the Totonaco people, young of Totonaco people in this process of capacity building in electricity and in photovoltaic equipment. And for us, this is a very important process because is result of the popular mandate or popular decision of the assembly of the peoples, and like I said before, is like alternative, like a proposal of defense of the territory than the organizations and community appropriate these technologies. Is for this reason, because they understand that fight or struggles against the capitalism and the project of the debt that want imposed in this region, they want construct alternatives and energetic alternatives, not only electrical alternatives, but they think that is important, the electrical alternative and the photovoltaic of the other technologies maybe or may help in this process. And this is the fundamental and principal reasons for that these communities appropriate the technology, no? And in this picture is very special for us because is a picture taken in December of 2019, before of COVID pandemic. Was last assembly that could be released in the Sierra. No? And in this picture is two groups, the Totonaco young people and Masewal young people in a stand in the assembly where they show up their families and other communers their process learned and work that we did in this moment. Okay, this is my general presentation, and the experience about work, energetical social work with the indigenous people in the Sierra Norte de Puebla.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Sandra. That's a really interesting talk, and I think it's a wonderful example of how appropriate energy is being introduced to the communities in Mexico. So now perhaps we can open the floor to discussion. Please, if you speak good Spanish, then please ask your question to Sandra and Marie or Omar in Spanish as well, and that might make the conversation easier with them. I'll start just by asking the question, and I'm afraid no hablo muy bien español, so I'm just going to ask it in English. Mexico has a lot of indigenous languages. The energy technologies that you're bringing to the communities are not something that is represented in the indigenous languages. So how do you present the energy technologies, and how do the languages adapt to this completely new technologies that are just, literally falling out of the sky, and that aren't represented in the indigenous languages or concepts at all? How do you do that in the communities?
Okay, this is a really problem in the educative process. It's a problem and not, because the people speak Spanish. So the process is in Spanish, but we try to, the young people that speak Spanish and their language can explain in their language at other people. For example, in the assembly, in the picture that I show you, in 2019, one of the aims was that the young people can speak in their language for the old people and explain the process, what they was learned. So this is a good thing to work with young people, that they speak Spanish and their language, and it's a way that they can practice and reserve their language. No, I think this.
John, could I have a follow-up question to that? And that is, I really enjoyed that, Sandra. Thank you very much, and thank you, Maria, for the clip of your film as well. But while I was listening to your talk, I was thinking it's not just a question of translating from the indigenous languages to Spanish, because some of the technology that you're introducing, the energy you're introducing, is new. It hasn't been seen before. So presumably the indigenous languages don't yet have a term for solar panels and such like. And I'm wondering what type of language is then used in the indigenous language? Is it type of metaphor, or can you say anything about that?
Okay. Our educative process has 4 lines. One is a technical line, and in this technical line is a formation in mathematics, in circuits, in technical concepts, and is a formal education, and they take notes, they have homeworks, they practice, repeat. This process is very orthodox. But the other 3 lines is political ecology and energetic matrix. The 3rd line is cooperativism, and the 4th line is some like field work, social work, no? And these 3 lines is not orthodox education process. And we try link these 4 lines for the knowledge has sense in the territory, in their activities, in their communities. So the technical knowledge is not the most important field. It's important, and their young people now has new capacities, and they are practice, and they are installed new electrical redes networks, for example, in their cooperative. But it's not the more important, but it's here. It's in Spanish, basically, because we speak Spanish, and the idea is that they can how say before learn it at their communities in their language. I don't know if I explain it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra. Carlos, you had your hand up. Would you like to ask a question? Your hand has gone down again.
Thank you very much for this outstanding presentation. I'm going to ask to Sandra in Spanish. Sandra, felicitaciones por este trabajo tan interesante que estás desarrollando allí en México. Tengo una pregunta relacionada con de qué manera estas cooperativas energéticas, que muy probablemente este proceso que se viene adelantando en México se puede replicar en otras regiones de Latinoamérica, de qué manera se pudiera involucrar las lenguas indígenas ancestrales para su promoción, para su revitalización, para que de algún modo a través de estos procesos de autonomía energética también se pudiera vincular la cultura y la memoria de los pueblos indígenas.
Bueno, gracias por el español. Yo creo, bueno, lo primero no es fácil tampoco. Las cooperativas de energía no son un proceso fácil, porque no necesariamente hay un apoyo ni una promoción de parte del Estado, ni de parte de instancias para promoverlas. Y creo que es un primer elemento que hay que impulsar. Hay que promover y exigir que los fondos públicos se destinen a la economía solidaria y a la apropiación de tecnología, no solamente de energía, sino de comunicaciones y otro tipo de áreas tecnológicas. Y creo que por otra parte hay que entender que las lenguas indígenas no son lenguas como muertas o como que estén en el pasado, sino que están tan vivas que se apropian de estos conceptos y van encontrando formas de nombrar. Entonces, esto que yo hago entre español e inglés, lo hacen ellos entre el macéhual y el español. Usan palabras en ambos idiomas y van generando formas nuevas de nombrar. Se van reapropiando de los conceptos técnicos. Por ejemplo, la cooperativa de jóvenes se llama Tonalsin. Tonalsin significa lucecita, ¿no? Little light. En macéhual. Nosotros, bueno, nosotros no, los adultos, digamos como los dirigentes de las organizaciones, pensaban que la cooperativa de jóvenes se iba a llamar Tanish, que Tanish es como energía, Tanish en macéhual. Y los chicos decidieron que se iba a llamar Lucecita. Ellos en su propio proceso, en su propia asamblea pequeña, decidieron darle ese nombre. Y así también lo que hemos ido viendo y haciendo es que ellos van nombrando las cosas como consideran que debería decirse en su idioma, en su lengua. Y bueno, eso por una parte. Entonces, uno, promoverlo. Dos, hay reapropiación de los términos. Y tres, hacer lo que, por ejemplo, están haciendo las compañeras de la Sandía Digital al producir un documental bello, claro, ¿no? Y traducirlo y ponerlo en la lengua de ellos, para que ellos se sientan reflejados y para que a la vez puedan nombrarse en eso que se está produciendo. Eso pensaría yo, así en términos muy generales.
Sí, gracias. Daniel, you have a question. Would you like to ask?
Yes, thank you. I have two questions, very shortly, rapidly. One for Marie. I was wondering, well, I have not seen, of course, I have not seen the documentary, but I was wondering, because I have a sense that the piece that you did is very like positive, on a positive vibe. I think that it gives hope, at least as we just saw on the trailer. So I was wondering if was it hard, like, to make it first, if this is the sense of the purpose of the documentary, to make it very warm and to give hope to the ones that are watching it, more than being like on a positive note, on a negative note, sorry. And if this was hard, because as you said, the reality in Mexico is really hard. There are many projects that are very, they are not just, and they are fighting against people against people. So I was wondering if that was hard for you as a director. And just Sandra, very quickly, you just said that the government needs to support this kind of projects. So I was actually thinking if there was an obstacle, for example, from the government, from the Federal Electricity Commission or something like that, against these kind of projects. If you saw on your work on the territories that there are certain I don't know, like obstacles, kind of initiatives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Marie, if you could answer Daniel's question first, and then maybe Daniel, if you could come back and ask your question for Marie again in Spanish, for Sandra in Spanish, then of course appreciate that as well. Marie.
Yes, thank you for the question. First, when we had the intention to talk about energy in Mexico, we thought first talk about the impact of large-scale renewable energy projects, which is not very positive. And as we were investigate about it, we met Carla and Sandra. Carla, who is part of Rosa Luxemburg Foundation in Mexico, and they were in this moment they were making an investigation about community alternatives. And so we thought that it was very good to share that those stories, because they exist. This is not an utopist thing. They exist. It's difficult. You will see in the documentary. It's difficult to build these alternatives, but there is a lot in Latin America, and we thought that it's a very strong and good base to change narratives about energy. No, not only telling the negative impacts of large-scale projects, but talking from these very positive experiences. So yes, we wanted really we really wanted to share the hope that we saw and we experienced while we were shooting this film, and we think that the film is a way to say that yes, it's possible to build community fair, sustainable and energy alternatives, and that it's very urgent to speak in this way.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Maria. I completely agree with this thing about building narratives and language is so important. Daniel, would you like to ask your question again of Sandra? And if you finish that, you might help that.
Hola, Sandra.
Hola, Daniel.
Bien rápido. Es que me gustó mucho lo que dijiste de que claro que tiene que haber apoyo del gobierno, pero yo más bien durante la plática pensaba qué tanto se presta el gobierno. Digo, el gobierno actual tiene su narrativa en México, ¿no? De apoyo a los pobres, a los sectores marginados. La secretaria de Medio Ambiente sabemos que viene de la TOSEPA, ¿no? Tiene su historia cooperativista, se supone. Entonces, yo me preguntaba si más bien este tipo de iniciativas tenían obstáculos, ¿no? En lugar de apoyos del gobierno. Tú mencionaste en algunos momentos como que había cierto, a lo mejor préstamos, ¿no? O alguna cosa así, como algún apoyo. Pero pensaba en si dado que, digamos, de alguna manera esto es contra el sistema, ¿no? Entonces, ¿qué tipo de obstáculos? Incluso yo dije, la CFE, no sé qué opina de este tipo de iniciativas o qué incidencia puede tener poniendo trabas, ¿no?
Pues yo creo que el Estado en sí mismo es un obstáculo, ¿no? Y lo es porque tiene un sistema energético centralizado, súper concentrado. O sea, en sí mismo ya está mal, ¿no? O sea, ya es un obstáculo. Y en segundo lugar, hay luego obstáculos de tipo operativo, efectivamente, y no solamente para las alternativas eléctricas o energéticas eléctricas tecnológicas como los paneles, sino ¿no? O sea, para cualquier tipo de alternativa, porque obviamente al Estado, y no solo al Estado mexicano, y con eso voy un poco a lo que Carlos preguntaba antes, también en general los estados en América Latina necesitan controlar las cosas como los bienes comunes. Y la tendencia neoliberal es a controlar los acueductos comunitarios, la infraestructura comunitaria, a ocupar cada vez más lugares que han sido gestionadas por las comunidades. Entonces hay todo tipo de obstáculos, ¿no? Y por eso creo que activamente hay que decir que hay que reapropiarse de los fondos públicos, de los fondos que son dineros de la nación, de las naciones, para los procesos de descentralización y desconcentración de la gestión del agua, de la energía, de los alimentos. O sea, no solamente para la energía, eso tendría que ser un criterio para los bienes en general. Entonces, creo que sí es un obstáculo, hay 1000 obstáculos. En el caso específico de México, igual yo creo que hay una disputa interna dentro del Estado para intentar, en este momento aún, para generar mecanismos de mayor, pues de mayor distribución, ¿no? Y está interesante, vamos a ver cómo se va dando, ¿no? Pero eso pensaría yo.
Gracias, Sandra.
Yeah, gracias. Marcela, you have a question.
Sí, gracias. La voy a hacer en español porque es porque es más fácil. Y es para Sandra. ¿Qué tal, Sandra? Quería preguntarte. Me gustó un montón tu presentación, pero y no sé si me perdí esa parte, perdón, sí. Quería saber cómo era el primer acercamiento a las, como a las comunidades en las que trabajan, o sea, cómo llegan, si llegan ustedes y... O sea, entiendo que hacen el diagnóstico, pero quería saber cómo era como el primer contacto y luego si hacían también si como la parte final, si hacían como un seguimiento. Entiendo que ahora por el COVID debe ser súper difícil, pero eso era lo que quería preguntarte.
Pues mira, yo creo, y intentaba decirlo, pero en mi mal inglés, creo que no lo logré, es un mandato de la asamblea, ¿no? Y yo creo que eso es lo más importante y hay que acercarse y trabajar con las organizaciones y con las formas políticas existentes en las comunidades. O sea, yo creo que no hay que inventarse el agua tibia porque las comunidades tienen sus formas de tomar decisiones y sus organizaciones. Y más bien, de una manera como muy respetuosa, hay que acercarse y de alguna manera sumarse a las iniciativas y a las decisiones que toman las comunidades. Entonces yo creo que el primer acercamiento siempre es con las organizaciones de las comunidades, ¿no? Si existen, en el caso de México, existen los ejidos, ¿no? Existen las asambleas, existen acueductos comunitarios, o sea, existen formas que funcionan hace décadas y hasta siglos. Entonces, esa para mí es como la primera entrada, como mucho respeto por las autoridades y por las formas propias de las comunidades y siempre como muy atento a qué es lo que están diciendo y qué es lo que están exigiendo. En este caso, es clarísimo que tiene que ver con la defensa del territorio y con una lucha y una resistencia a los megaproyectos, a los proyectos de muerte. Entonces, yo creo que esa es como la forma en la que nosotros nos hemos acercado ha sido así.
Gracias. La otra era rapidísimo, si hacían como después al último, como si hacían una evaluación o seguían en contacto, o eso como algo que nunca termina.
Así.
No sé.
Sí, bueno, en el caso, nosotros, de los procesos como comunitarios, en el caso de la Sierra Norte, que trabajamos como de un lado con los Macebol, sobre todo con la Unión de Cooperativas Tosepan, ahí el proceso continúa y continúa porque efectivamente hay la intención digamos, de aumentar la capacidad instalada, de generar otro tipo de tecnologías y ese es un proceso que va a ampliarse, ¿no? Que se está ampliando de hecho ahora. Y del otro lado de la sierra, con el pueblo totonaco, es un poco más lento porque ellos no tienen organizaciones tan grandes, digamos, no tienen tanta fortaleza organizativa y ahí todavía estamos en el proceso de capacitación con los jóvenes, ¿no? Y de trabajo con la asamblea del pueblo totonaco. Entonces, seguimos ahí y yo creo que igual sí hay que seguir y sí hay que hacer acompañamiento y seguimiento porque, pues, y además porque nosotros como cooperativa nos sentimos parte de la asamblea regional. O sea, no nos sentimos como un actor externo, sino que sentimos que estamos dando cumplimiento a un mandato popular que sale de la asamblea y así lo asumimos, ¿no? Entonces ahí vamos a seguir.
Buenísimo, muchas gracias.
Okay, gracias. Do we have any more questions, please? No? Okay. Then what I'll do is I'll hand over to Janet as co-director of Silky. Janet, if you can tell us about the next seminar and what the plans are.
I think the next one's going to be Sound Matters. we still have to get a time for this, but that should be in May with Mike Edwards. And then in June, we have an exciting project. We want to hold a workshop, a poetry workshop, Poetry in Nature, with poets from around the world. And we haven't quite got a date yet, but it's going to be probably around the 16th of June. And we've been in various discussions about that. But this was extremely interesting. I think language and energy and the way in which society and culture works with energy is such an important topic. And I could see the possibility of applying for funding for a research grant to work on the language of nature, the language of energy, so the language of traditional energy and the new energy, and how language evolves, how local and indigenous languages evolve to deal with new technology.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jen. It's something nobody has looked at because they're in such different fields, in the technical engineering field and then in the kind of linguistic, social, anthropological fields, and those two things are not coming together other than in conflict.
Yeah.
And the whole world is changing now in terms of energy use and efficiencies and so on. Just say something about the soundscape talk. This is something that's really fascinating. A team of sound engineers who are looking at diversity and society through sound rather than vision, doing things like recording the sound of soil and the difference between the sound of an agricultural community doing their work as opposed to a field where you've got mechanized agriculture. And when you're hearing these differences and you realize that there are these huge social differences in the way that the sound is representing the diversity and well-being of these different communities. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. I think we peaked at 26 participants in the end, which was great. And thank you very much indeed for Jorgen, Victor and Omar and all the team from Morelia and organizing everything, and particularly for Marie and Sandra for their presentations and coming along. So thank you, everybody. Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.